Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session. My name is Haider Shahbaz. I am a writer and translator from Pakistan, and I'm joined today by the writer Fauzia Rafique. Um, we're very thankful and grateful to the organizers of the Literature Festival for inviting us and hosting this discussion on Fauzia Rafique's novella Keeru. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the novel, first of all, and introduce you to the novel and to Fauzia. And then we will do a bilingual reading from the novella, where Fauzia will read the original Punjabi and a few pages of the original Punjabi. And then I will follow up with a translation in English, my English translation of the same passage from the book. And then we'll have a short discussion about the themes of the book and the writing process of the book. Um, so thank you again for joining us here, and we hope that you enjoy the reading and the discussion. So first of all, let me just introduce the novel and its themes very, very briefly. Fauzia Rafique's Punjabi novella, Keeru, was published in Pakistan by Sanjh Publishers in 2019. My translation of the same novella is forthcoming from Hachette, India, in hopefully in July 2025. And the same English translation will also be published by Sanjh Publishers in Pakistan. The novella challenges the dominance of patriarchal, heterosexual, casteist, and nationalist narratives that are deeply entrenched in Punjabi literature, specifically, and South Asian literature more generally. The novella focuses on queer, feminist, Dalit, and diasporic characters and their stories of love and resistance. Through its portrayal of five differently marginalized characters, the novella weaves a sensitive human story that deals with timely topics such as blasphemy, queer desire, and caste. The novella begins with the protagonist Keeru getting out of his car and standing in front of the entrance to his small textile business in Canada. He is anxious. His mother is coming to stay with him from Pakistan. We will read a brief passage from towards the beginning of the book where Keeru is thinking back to his time in Pakistan while he waits for his mother to arrive in Canada. He's thinking about his childhood. That's where we'll read the passage from. Other than Keeru, the book also narrates the story of a different character in each section of the book. So the first part is about Keeru. The second part is narrated by his mother, Halima. And the narrative is divided between her time in Canada and her memories of her previous life in Pakistan. We see the prejudices she faced as a Dalit woman in Pakistan, as well as her experiences as an immigrant to Canada. The third part is narrated by Naila, Keeru's employee, who is trapped in an abusive marriage with an older Pakistani man. We see her struggle with her marriage as she tries to make a life for herself, both in and out of the house. The fourth part is narrated by Diljit, Keeru's business partner and eventually his lover, who has come to Canada from the Indian side of Punjab. Finally, the last part is narrated by Bella. Bella is a half Pakistani, half British girl who grew up in Canada. She initially is introduced in the novella when Keeru and Halima interview her for a job, but she slowly becomes good friends with Halima despite their age difference. We won't get a chance to talk about all of these characters in detail, but we hope that you will read the book and read the translation when it is published. And for today, we will read a little bit from the passage about, from the first chapter of the novella, which is about Keeru himself. Before we begin, let me just give a brief introduction to Fauzia. Fauzia Rafique is a South Asian Canadian writer of fiction and poetry. Fauzia has published three novels, novellas, Keeru, Sakina, and The Adventures of Sahiba. Her e-book of poems, Holier Than Life, was published in 2013. Earlier, she edited an anthology of writings of women of South Asian origin, Aurat Darbar, The Court of Women. In Pakistan, Fauzia worked as a journalist and a screenwriter. Fauzia came to Canada as a convention refugee in 1986. She is a co-founder and the coordinator of Surrey Muse Art Society. Most of her work centers around the empowerment of women, writers, and artists. It is positioned against religious oppression, caste-based prejudices, systemic racism, homophobia, and ableism. It supports the struggles and rights of people of color, indigenous peoples, queer communities, refugees, and migrants. Through creative writing, blogging, and arts activism, Fauzia supports struggles for liberation and equality. Hello, Fauzia. It's nice to see you.
Hi there. You you gave such good introductions to both the novel and me. You almost sold Keeru to me,
I'm glad. I'm glad. Uh,
Uh,
I know we have been talking about this book for a long time, and I'm very excited for the translation to come out and for more people to read this book. Should we get started with the reading of the novella?
um,
Or if you want to say anything before you start reading, please feel free.
um, well, I was thinking that we need a bit of introduction of you as well, if
Oh,
that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. My name is Haider Shahbaz. I'm a writer and translator from Pakistan. I have previously translated Mirza Athar Beg's Urdu novel Hassan State of Affairs. Um, and currently, I'm translating Fauzia Rafique's novella, as I talked about it, which will be published by Hachette, India and Sanjh in Pakistan. Um, and some of my other work has appeared in places like Wasafiri, Los Angeles Review of Books, Asymptote, Caravan, etc.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to say hello to my friends and family in Pakistan that I haven't seen since 2007, but it does seem as if it was yesterday. And also to the people who I have never met, but my work resonates with them. And so my warmest regards uh, to you and everyone who's here with us. Um, so I'll begin reading now. Okay. ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਬੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਭੈੜੀਆਂ ਆਦਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਈਆਂ। ਇੱਕ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਏ ਤੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਏ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਜੀਨੀਅਸ ਸਾਂ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਸੜੀਅਲ ਤੇ ਕੁੰਨਾ ਬਾਲ ਸਾਂ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕਾਲੋਨੀ ਦੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਬਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਡ ਲਿਖਾਈ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਵੱਲ ਮੇਰਾ ਰੁਝਾਨ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਅਕਲ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਸੀ। ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਾਲੋਨੀ ਦੇ ਇੱਕੋ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਹੈੱਡ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਲਮ ਕੁੱਲਾ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਸੀ। ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਤਗੜਾ ਵੀ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਘੋੜਾ ਖੇਡਣ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਕ ਸੀ। ਸਕੂਲ ਦੀ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਠੀ ਦੇ ਲਾਲ ਕਾਲੀਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਕਮਰੇ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਰਾਂ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਪੈਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਚੱਡੀ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਂ। ਉਹ ਥੱਲੇ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਬੜਾ ਹੱਸਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕਰ 1। ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਗੋਡੇ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਬੱਖੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਮਾਰਦਾ 1 ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਵੱਧਦਾ 2 3 50 ਤੱਕ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਸਾਂ। ਇਸੇ ਲਈ ਕੱਚੀ ਜਮਾਤ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ 100 ਤੱਕ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਭੁੱਲੀ। ਪਰ ਬੇਬੇ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗਿਣਤੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਇਹ ABCਆਂ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਆ ਗਈਆਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜੀਨੀਅਸ ਸਾਂ। ਮੈਂ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਦਾ ਬੂਹਾ ਖੜਕਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਰਸੀ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਬੈਠ ਗਿਆ। ਕਮ ਇਨ ਮੈਂ ਆਖਿਆ। ਗੁਲਾਬੀ ਚਾਦਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੁਕੀ ਇੱਕ ਕੁੜੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਦੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਸਟਰਡ ਕਾਟਨ ਦਾ ਟੋਟਾ ਸੀ। ਸਰ ਏਪਰਨ ਦੀ ਹੈਮ ਅੰਦਰ ਬੁਕਰਮ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ? ਆਂਟੀ ਨਾਇਲਾ ਨੇ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ? ਮੈਂ ਆਂਟੀ ਦੀ ਮੇਜ਼ ਵੱਲ ਗਿਆ ਵੇਖਣ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ। ਸੌਰੀ ਸਰ ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਦਿਨ ਹੈ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ। ਨੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵਿਖਾਓ। ਮੈਂ ਹੱਥ ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹਨੇ ਕੱਪੜਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਵਿਖਾਓ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ। ਉਹ ਨੱਸ ਕੇ ਕਮਰਿਓਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਹਾਲੀ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਸਾਂ ਉਹ ਨੱਸਦੀ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਗਈ। ਇਹ ਲਓ ਸ਼ੀਟ। ਉਹਨੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫੜਾਇਆ। ਫੜਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮਹਿੰਦੀ ਦੀ ਰੰਗਲੀ ਹਮਕ ਆਈ। ਮੇਰਾ ਜੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਮਹਿੰਦੀ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੱਥ ਵੇਖਾਂ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਵੱਲ ਮੋੜ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਯੈਸ, ਬੁਕਰਮ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਮੇਜ਼ ਤੇ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਪਰੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਰ, ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਆਂਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਦੱਸਣਾ। ਉਹ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਈ। ਆਂਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਦੱਸਣਾ? ਕਮਾਲ ਏ, ਬੌਸ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ? ਮੈਂ ਆਸ ਪਿਆ। ਬੌਸ ਆਂਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇੰਨਾ ਸਿਆਪਾ ਉਹ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਮੇਰੇ ਹੋਰ ਬੜੇ ਮਸਾਇਲ ਨੇ। ਮੈਂ ਸੇਲਸ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਫਾਈਲ ਕੰਪਿਊਟਰ ਤੇ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਵੇਖਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਮਸਾਇਲ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋ ਮਸਲੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਾਰ ਥੱਲੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਬਚਪਨ ਲੰਘਿਆ, ਲੜਕਪਨ ਲੰਘਿਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਵਾਨੀ ਲੰਘਦੀ ਪਈ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰੀ ਮਾਂ ਤੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਂ। ਨਾ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਆਈ, ਨਾ ਉਹਦੀ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਲੀ ਨਿੱਕਾ ਹੀ ਸਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ। ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਚਾਚਿਆਂ ਤਾਇਆਂ ਦੇ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਬਾਲ ਰਾਤ ਦੀ ਰੋਟੀ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਪੱਕੇ ਵਿਹੜੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੋਰ ਚੋਰ ਖੇਡਣ ਲੱਗੇ। ਕੋਈ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ, ਕੋਈ ਜੱਜ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਚੋਰ। ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਆਖਿਆ। ਤੂੰ? ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਠੱਠਾ ਮਾਰ ਕੇ ਹੱਸਿਆ। ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੱਸਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਿਸਤੌਲ ਚਲਾਣੀ ਆਂਦੀ ਏ। ਮੈਂ ਸੱਜਾ ਗੋਡਾ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਤੇ ਟਿਕਾਇਆ, ਖੱਬੇ ਹੱਥ ਦੀ ਪਿਸਤੌਲ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਸੱਜੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੜੀ, ਬਾਹਾਂ ਤਾਣ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਠਾਹ ਠਾਹ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਚਲਾਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ। ਸਟਾਪ, ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੜਕ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਫਾਇਰਿੰਗ ਰੋਕ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੱਕਿਆ। ਤੂੰ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣ ਸਕਦਾ। ਕਿਉਂ? ਤੂੰ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਕੀ ਬਣਨਾ ਹੈ ਭੈਣ ਚੋਦਾ? ਤੇਰਾ ਤੇ ਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਕੀੜੂ ਏ, ਉਸ ਆਖਿਆ। ਤੇ ਫੇਰ? ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਨਾ ਆਈ। ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀੜੂ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ? ਕੀੜਾ। ਤੂੰ ਕੀੜਾ ਹੈ, ਕੀੜਾ। ਉਹਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮੱਥੇ ਤੇ ਵਲੱਥਾ ਮਾਰਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਡਿੱਗਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਬਣਾ? ਮੈਂ ਰੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ। ਤੂੰ? ਉਹ ਸੋਚੀ ਪੈ ਗਿਆ। ਇਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਹੈ ਰੂ ਰੂ ਕਰਦੀ। ਇੱਕ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਠੁੱਡਾ ਮਾਰਿਆ। ਕੁੜੀਏ ਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਕ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਉੱਧਰ ਨੱਸਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਬਾਕੀ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਖੋਹਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਪੱਕੇ ਫਰਸ਼ ਤੇ ਡਿੱਗਾ। ਅਖੀਰ ਮੈਂ ਡਰ ਕੇ ਚੀਕਾਂ ਮਾਰਨੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ। ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਗਏ। ਮੇਰੀ ਜਾਨ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੱਡਿਆਂ ਨੱਸਣਾ ਭੱਜਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਥੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਟਕਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਠੀ ਵੱਲ ਲੈ ਟੁਰਿਆ। ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਡਿੱਗੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਠੁੱਡੇ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਗਏ। ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਬਾਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਚੀਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆਈ। ਉਹ ਰੋਂਦੀ ਬਾਲੜੀ ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਨਿੱਕੀ ਭੈਣ ਸੀ, ਡੌਲੀ ਬੇਬੀ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ 100 ਕੂਕਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣੀਆਂ, ਉਥੇ ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਚੀਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਚਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਭਾਜੜ ਮਚ ਗਈ। ਕਈ ਵੱਡੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਸਕਿੰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਆਈ ਤੇ ਰੋਂਦੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਗੋਦੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚਲੀ ਗਈ। ਕੰਸਾਮਾ ਤੇ ਅਰਦਲੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੰਮ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਆ ਗਏ, ਫਿਰ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ। ਮੈਂ ਫਰਸ਼ ਤੇ ਪਿਆ ਰਹਿ ਗਿਆ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਰੋਵਨ ਆਇਆ। ਖਰੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਬੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ? ਮੈਂ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਬਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਹਿਲਾਇਆ। ਉਹ ਸਕੂਲ ਦਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਚੌਕੀਦਾਰ ਸੀ, ਅਫਗਾਨ ਮਹਾਜਰ, ਸੱਚੀ ਮੁੱਚੀ ਦੀ ਗਾਨ ਵਾਲਾ। ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸੌਰੀ ਇਰਫਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੁਣੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਡਰਦੇ ਸਨ। ਉਹਨੇ ਕੱਛਾਂ 'ਚ ਹੱਥ ਪਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਖਿਲਾਰਿਆ, 2-3 ਕਦਮ ਚਲਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਲੈ ਵਿਹੜੇ ਦੇ ਬੂਹੇ ਤੇ ਅੰਦਰਲੇ ਵਿਹੜੇ ਦੇ ਬੂਹੇ ਤੇ ਲਿਆਇਆ। ਮੈਂ ਮੁਸਕਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਮਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਗਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਸਿਸਕਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਮਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ ਕਿਚਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਨਲਕੇ ਤੇ ਬੈਠੀ ਸੀ। ਬੇਬੇ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੰਨ ਨਾਲ ਚੰਬੜ ਗਿਆ। ਵੇ ਵੇ ਜਿੰਦ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ? ਆਸਰਾ ਕਰ। ਦੀਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੇਰੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੀਨੀ ਦੀ ਪਲੇਟ ਏ। ਉਹਨੇ ਮੋਢੇ ਝਟਕਾਏ। ਮੈਂ ਕੰਡ ਪਾਰ ਟਹਿ ਪਿਆ। ਉਹ ਭਾਂਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਢੇਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੀ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੱਕਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਬੇਬਸ ਲੇਟ ਕੇ ਰੋਂਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਉਹਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਧੋ ਕੇ ਲੋਹੇ ਦੇ ਟੋਕਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜੋੜੇ, ਉੱਤੇ ਕੱਪੜਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਪਿਛਾਂ ਮੁੜ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫਰਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਆ ਜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ। ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੀਨੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਾਹ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹਨੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਝੱਗਾ ਲਾ ਨਲਕੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਰ ਟੂਟੀ ਚਲਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਠੰਡਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਕਿਧਰੇ ਸਾੜੇ ਤੇ ਕਿਧਰੇ ਦੇਵੇ ਸੁੱਖ। ਚਾਦਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੇਟ ਕੇ ਉਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁੱਛੜ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਤੇ ਘਰ ਲੈ ਆਈ। ਅੰਦਰ ਆ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿੰਡੇ ਤੇ ਟੋ ਟੋ ਕੇ ਫੱਟ ਲੱਭੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਕੌੜਾ ਤੇਲ ਲਾਉਂਦੀ ਗਈ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੁੱਕਾ ਝੱਗਾ ਪਵਾ ਬਿਸਤਰੇ ਪਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੈ ਗਈ। ਸੌਂ ਜਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਿੰਦ, ਉਹਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮੱਥੇ ਦਾ ਗੁੰਮਟ ਹੋਇਆ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਜੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਈਂ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ, ਬੇਬੇ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਂ ਕੀੜੂ ਕਿਉਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ? ਉਹ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਸ ਸਵਾਲ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਵਾਬ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੱਫੀ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਆਖਿਆ, ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੇਟ ਦਾ ਕੀੜਾ ਜੋ ਹੋਇਆ। ਮੈਂ ਬੋਲਣ ਲੱਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁੱਤ-ਕੁਤਾੜੀਆਂ ਕੱਢਣ ਪੈ ਗਈ। ਮੈਂ ਉੱਚੀ ਉੱਚੀ ਹੱਸਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ। ਫਿਰ ਅਸਲੀ ਸਿਆਪਾ ਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਪਿਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਸੀਤੇ ਮੌਲਵੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੋਲ ਕੁਰਾਨ ਸ਼ਰੀਫ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਪਾਣ ਗਈ।
ਠੀਕ,
ਪੜ੍ਹੀਏ?
ਮੈਂ ਖਿਆਲ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੁਕ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ।
ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਵਕਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਮੁਕਾ ਲਈਏ। ਬਟ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਫॉर योर ਰੀਡਿੰਗ। ਇਟਸ ਸਚ ਅ ਪਾਵਰਫੁਲ ਨੋਵੈਲਾ। ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਨੋਵੈਲਾ ਤਰਜਮਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਹੁਣੇ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਜਾਂ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹਾਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਰੋਣਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿਰਦਾਰ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਿਰਦਾਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਟਰੇਚਰ ਵਿੱਚ। ਤੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਤਾਬ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਕਿਰਦਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੇ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ so much for reading it again. It's really such a powerful piece of literature. I will read the translation of the same passage that you just read. Uh, My baby only has two bad habits. She finds whatever meaning she wants to find, no matter what anyone says, and she thinks I'm some kind of genius. I was an ugly, grumpy, and mean-spirited child. It's true that I enjoyed reading and writing more than the other kids in our housing colony, but that wasn't because of my superior intellect. It was because of Irfan Sahib. Irfan Sahib was the only son of the school headmaster in our housing colony. He was older and stronger than me, and he loved playing horse and horse rider. I used to visit his big house behind the school building. In the middle of their large lounge, I would get on my hands and knees, like a horse, and stare at the floor. I still remember the carpet. It was red. I was too young to wear any shorts or underwear. I used to look at my naked bottom. He used to look at my naked bottom and laugh rowdily before climbing on my back. Then he would say, "Count after me. 1." And he would strike my ribs with his knees. I would repeat 1 and move forward. 2, 3, 4. I used to count to 50, sometimes even more. This is how I learned to count to 100 before I even started going to school, and I've never forgotten my lessons. Bebe thinks that I learned all the numbers and ABCs because I am some kind of genius, but I heard a knock on my door. I sat up straight. "Come in." A young woman hidden inside a maroon shawl walked in. She was holding a piece of mustard cotton in her nervous, shaking hands. "Sir, should there be a bukram in the hem of this apron?" "Auntie Naila didn't give you a design sheet?" I walked over to Auntie Naila's desk, but I couldn't find the sheet. "Sorry, sir, it's my first day. I don't understand the sheet." "No problem, show me." I extended my hand, and she extended the cloth towards me. "No, I mean, show me the sheet." She ran out of the room. I was already lost in my thoughts again when she came running back. "Here's the sheet." She bent forward and handed it to me. I detected a faint scent of henna as I took the sheet from her, and I had this sudden desire to see her henna-filled hands, but I diverted my attention towards the sheet. Yes, there should be a bukram. I put the sheet on the desk, stood up from my seat, and walked to the window. "Thank you. And sir, please don't tell Auntie." She grabbed the sheet and quickly left the room. "Don't tell Auntie." Amazing. Who is the boss here? I laughed to myself. Yes, Auntie should be the boss. Only she can handle this whole mess. I have too many things on my mind. I returned to my desk and opened the file for the sales meeting on my computer. Everyone has some fears, some worries, some problems that keep them up at night. I have two that have never left me. I spent my childhood, my teenage years, and now I'm spending my youth under the weight of these two worries. One is my mother, and the other is my name. I could never understand either. I was still quite young when I first heard the meaning of my name. Irfan Sahib's cousins were visiting. All the children, me, Irfan Sahib, his cousins, gathered in the schoolyard after dinner to play chore police. Some children became policemen, some became judges, and some became thieves. I am a policeman, I declared. You? Irfan Sahib burst out laughing. His cousins followed his lead, like they did in everything else, and started laughing too. I know how to shoot a pistol. I put my right knee on the ground, made a pistol out of my left hand, and held it in my right hand, raised my elbows, and started firing. Tha, tha, tha. Stop, Irfan Sahib scolded. I stopped shooting and looked at him. You can't be a policeman. Why? How are you going to be a policeman, motherfucker, when your name is Keeru? So what? I didn't understand what he was trying to say. You don't know what Keeru means? It means you are a lowly insect, a beg, a pest, vermin. He slapped my forehead and I fell backwards. So what can I be? I started crying. You? He drifted off. Look, he's a girl, crying like a little girl. A boy kicked me in the stomach. He's a girl, let's kidnap her. They picked me up and started carrying me around the courtyard. The kids who became policemen tried to snatch me away from the others. They grabbed me, clawed at me, kicked me. I fell on the concrete floor many times. I was terrified and started screaming. This spurred them on even more. I felt like my heart would explode from fear. Some adults finally arrived on the scene. Irfan Sahib told his cousins to stop and took them inside the house. Before they left, they all kicked me while I lay on the ground. At that moment, I heard the screams of another child. It was Irfan Sahib's younger sister, Dolly Baby. Nobody had paid any attention to my loud screams, but everybody was immediately galvanized at the first sound of Dolly Baby's cries. All the adults appeared instantly. The nanny arrived in a matter of seconds, picked up Dolly Baby in her arms, and started rocking her. The cook and the clerk arrived at the scene, abandoning their work, and then returned when they were satisfied that the baby was fine. I remained lying on the floor. I cried even more. Where was my baby? My body shook and trembled. I felt the injustice deeply. Someone picked me up. It was the school's new security guard, an Afghan refugee, with a real genuine gun. Irfan Sahib and everyone else feared him. He pulled me up and helped me stand on my feet. He made me walk a few steps, then he picked me up and brought me to the door of the inner courtyard. I went up to my baby, tears still running down my face. She was sitting in front of the tap outside the kitchen. Baby, I clung to her back. What happened, my life? It's okay, have some patience. Can't you see that I have an expensive plate in my hand? She jerked her shoulders and I fell on my back. She had a pile of dirty dishes in front of her. She didn't even turn around to look at me, just continued washing. I lay there, powerless, and kept crying. Once she was finished washing all the dishes, stacking them up in a basket and securing the basket with a cloth, she turned around and picked me up from the floor. Come, she hugged me, my beautiful baby. My breath finally returned to me. She took off my shirt, pushed me under the tap, and turned it on. The cold water stung my body, but it also soothed me. She wrapped me in her shawl and carried me home. When we were inside, she searched for each scrape and bruise on my body, treated it with mustard oil, dressed me in a fresh shirt, put me down on the bed, and lay down next to me. Sleep, my life. She caressed the bump on my forehead. For the first time in my life, I asked her the question that I'm still asking her. Bebe, why did you name me Kidu? She never fails to give an answer when I ask this question, but each time the answer is different. She hugged me tightly and responded, because you are the insect of my belly. I wanted to ask more questions, but she started to tickle me. All my questions dissolved into laughter. The real trouble started when she took me to the mosque because she wanted me to study the Quran with the Imam alongside the other children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful translation, Like I said before, your work shines, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. It's all because I have such amazing material to work with in the original.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you some questions about this novel in particular, but also about your writing and your writing more generally. You know, in all of your books, like in Keeru, in Sakina, and even in your other writings that are online, in your blog, um, you have always touched on very pertinent political issues, and you also identify as someone who is interested in literary activism. Um, so I wanted to ask you what is the relationship between your political commitments and your writing, or why was it important for you um, to keep your politics front and center when you write?
Interesting. Um, um, it's like we do separate things to understand them better. Um, but actually, writing is always political. And there is no piece of writing in this world or art that is not political. And the reason mine is seen as political is because my ideas do not conform with the mainstream values of different systems. They do not conform with the mainstream values of Pakistan or Canada or, anywhere else where people live. So because of that, my work is seen as being political, though everyone's work is political. It's just that if your work is supporting all the icons and conventions of a mainstream system, then it is not perceived as political. Then it's just accepted and it's carried on like that. So what I'm saying is that these are not two different things for me. My art is nothing without my politics, and my politics is nothing without my art. I really do think so now. I didn't used to think that in the beginning of my life when I began as a political activist in Pakistan. Um, Art and politics was two different things for me. But that's also because that's what I was taught in the mainstream value system. Um, but they are very together for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think we are often taught that those things are different, but that only makes sense when we only see certain writers as political instead of seeing every writing as political, and trying to see, just because um, a book is saying what is commonly accepted or what is sponsored by mainstream society, then it's not political. But if you're saying something that is oppositional uh,
Mhm.
to our conventional systems, whether it is caste or whether it is class, whether it is nationality, sexuality, gender, all of these things that structure our world. And I feel like your work is always provides very important critiques of the way these things are thought. I also wanted to ask more particularly about this book, Keeru. You mentioned to me once that you started writing it decades ago, um,
Mhm.
and then came back to it after a long time, and the story has evolved a lot since that time. So, how did this story come to you? Why did you want to write this particular story? Why was this important to you? What was your writing process over, many years or even many decades as you were writing this book?
Mhm. Yes. I actually knew a child, Keeru, who was named Keeru. And this character is actually kind of a complement to that character that I knew in my childhood, who was a lot younger than I was at the time. But it was a character and his mother that I could never kind of, forget. They were both very powerful, and the way the society was treating them was kind of very uncomfortable for me. Um, and so it was after I wrote Aape Ranja Hui, Punjabi, that was the first Punjabi drama serial from Pakistan television. I think it was 1974 or something. It was like a huge project, and after finishing it, I was like, confident enough to think that I could write a novel in Punjabi. And so I began writing this. Um, but then after a couple of years, I went to England to study. And when I came back in a couple of years, I had left that manuscript behind. So from that time on, it was in 78, I think that 79, 78, that I last worked on it. And then I thought that I had lost it. And I think it was 2016 or something, when a friend of mine from England, he sent the manuscript to me. So then I suddenly had it, like in front of me. It was like about 6 chapters in, and the plot in that was also very interesting, but it did not kind of capture me now. Now I wanted to write something else, and so I began writing it, I think, in 2018 or something, and it was finished in like 2019, like 6 or so months. So though I had it for since 1974, 75, but it actually took a lot less time than some of my other novels in terms of the work I did on it. Um, so this kind of gave me an opportunity to again combine my experience in Pakistan and Canada, and kind of provide some kind of insight into the different prejudices that people have to live with just to kind of exist, just because they were born a certain way, or they believe in certain things, like religion, or like all the basis of prejudices. Some people uh, have a lot of it, like poverty also kind of um, comes with other kind of oppressions and prejudices, and people have to live through them, overcome them, or whatever different people could do. And it kind of bothers me a lot that I'm supporting a system that is so unjust. So it's my way of protesting. Keeru is one of my protests, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you can see that in the novel as well, how it has evolved over the years, and changed from what it was at the beginning to what it became now, and maybe in a way it worked out for the better that that you lost and then found this manuscript again to write a different kind of story.
Mhm.
One other thing I wanted to ask you was, since we're also doing this bilingual session, and I think it's important for people to hear the original Punjabi of the text as well. Uh,
Mhm.
so I wanted to ask, why did you choose to write in Punjabi? Um, you're fluent in multiple languages, and we often see that people whose mother tongue is Punjabi choose to write in English or write in Urdu. Um, why was it important for you to tell this story in Punjabi, but also your other work that you have written in Punjabi?
Mhm. Thank you. Um, in terms of my creative process, I only decide or a theme about a theme, which could in my mind be just one sentence or a term or something. And that theme brings its language um, and style of writing and everything else with it. So it's I don't determine, for example, um, a poem it comes in a language. I mean, I don't think about writing it in a language. It comes in that language. So, and certain poems come in English, some in Urdu, some in Punjabi. I can't really change that.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can translate afterwards, but I can't really change the original to anything that I want. It is what it is.
Hmm.
Um, and why I write in Punjabi as opposed to Urdu and English or Urdu or English um, is because in the 1970s, when I was writing for Pakistan television, and I did Ape Ranja Hui, which was actually an adaptation of Dostoevsky's novelet, The Poor Folks. And and I was living in Lahore. And there was this consciousness and this movement of Punjabi writers who were um, insisting that we should not be um, overshadowed by Urdu or English, which was what the mainstream state apparatus was doing to all um, local languages, like provincial languages. So I am very proud that I was part of the um, people who had this consciousness to support Punjabi by actually writing in it. That I kind of began writing in Punjabi as well. Um, and my very first Punjabi writing was a short story that was like really embarrassing when I read it after. But that was a beginning. It wasn't actually too bad.
Yeah, I think so. In a way, writing in Punjabi was also a form of protest for you. Um,
Yes.
and has that relationship to Punjabi changed at all since coming to Canada?
Actually, it became even more because we first kind of came to Canada. I mean, we lived in Toronto 10 years before we moved to here in like Metro Vancouver. And over there, I had the chance of meeting some young women and young men. Um, who were Punjabis from different parts of the Punjab, Indian and Pakistani. But most of them who were like second or third generation people here, they had almost lost the language. But there was a desire, I mean, I could feel the desire for them to reclaim it and know it. And, I had this strange reaction to this situation, and I wrote my novel Sakina actually in both the languages together, English and Punjabi. So it's like, if someone moves, their situation doesn't change that way. Cultural factors remain, and
That's you.
and the situation of Punjabi in Pakistan is still the same. It has very little resources as compared to Urdu, which is like the national language, and English, that's the official language. So in that, I feel that we need to continue to be very active in promoting it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fauzia. That's unfortunately all the time we have today for our reading and discussion. I wish we had time to talk a lot more because, I feel like we've been talking and I've learned so much from you over the years, not just about this book, but also what it means to write, what kind of position we have as writers or intellectuals or cultural workers um, in the world today, and I feel like there is um, I hope we will get time to discover a lot more about your other writings as well, about your work with magazines in Canada around South Asian feminism, around a lot of the other issues that you've worked on. And I hope this is just the beginning of a long journey in which more and more people will get to know about your work, because it's really a fantastic collection of writings that you have produced, that's tied to all these important issues that you've been mentioning. So thank you so much again for joining us. I hope everybody who came to the session had a great time. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠਣ ਲਈ, ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣਨ ਲਈ. And I hope I'll see you again soon, Fauzia.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everyone.